Valerie had a cascade of thoughts that rained down from the wrong place. Was this the price she had to pay for stealing change as a teenager? Maybe she deserves what's happening because she took a married man away from his family. Her strength was draining out from beneath her ruined feet. The ground crunched from the crisp leaves covered in ice-cold dew. She wondered what he'd seen from so far away to make him shoot in the moonlight. Maybe it was just her moving that caught his eye. It was all she could do to create some distance between the two. And as the sun was soon to rise with hints beyond the tree line of the first glimpse, she saw the straight edge of a roofline. Valerie limped and struggled to reach the house and hopefully get help. But as she got closer, she could tell it was a ranger's building, dark and empty. A notice board filled with stapled pages of various dates for hunting deer, turkey, and bear were on the board. Valerie took her elbow and broke the window pane on the front door. She reached in and grabbed the door handle. Inside, the room was dark, but with just enough light to show a desk, a cot with a couple of blankets, and a kitchen with only a few cans of soup and beans. She wrapped 4 cans in a handful of blankets and left the cabin, closing the door behind her. There was a road to her right, a gravel road that went toward civilization. The structure was elevated, and she saw a foundation vent. Walking around to the back of the place, she saw an access door. It was 2 feet wide by a foot tall. Valerie opened it, and the door swung out toward her. She tossed in the blankets and the cans of food. It wasn't easy. She twisted and squeezed into the crawl space, pulling the little door closed behind her. Inside it was tight. The blankets and cans were slowly dragged to the furthest corner. Valerie lay down with her head pressed into musty dirt. Only by inches was she able to pull the blankets under her and around her feet. 2 of the cans had pull tops on them. She opened one and drank in chicken broth and noodles. When she finished, she closed her eyes and held on to the second can. Then she heard feet moving on the front porch. The door above her must have swung open. She heard boards creaking inches above her face. The feet moved like a human animal, 2 steps forward, stop, and then perhaps he was smelling to see if he could pick up her scent. Valerie began to shake, and she did her best to make sure her fear didn't give her away. He has no idea she's under him at this very moment. The noise of him walking around the structure continued. He was hesitant, cautious, and quiet. He opened and closed cabinet drawers and doors. If Steven found her under the cabin, what would he do? She couldn't stand the thought of being tied back to that bed. But she was so weak and tired, there wasn't much she could do about any of it. She began to feel a small sense of pride in having broken his plan. She would die fighting to be free. It was in her blood. There were oral stories of her relatives leaving slavery and joining the Negro Army of the Union. That part of her, some unnamed essence, was passed down through blood for this occasion. Those poor slaves must have been frightened, but also extremely brave. She needed some of that bravery now. He was on the porch, perhaps looking down the road and wondering if she was following it. That's what she thought anyway.